Greetings and salutations, everybody. This is Jacob. Alright, let's first try to figure out the total number of games of the entire tournament. Let's establish a lower bound and an upper bound. So the total number of games in the tournament can't be lower than 14 games, because that's the total number of games that David has played. Make sense? Now for the upper bound. Since James has the least amount of games, and since the loser sits out the next game, that means the upper bound of total games played is a scenario in which James has lost all his games he's played in. So there are two scenarios in which James has lost all his games. The first one is where James plays in the first game, and the second is where James sits out the first game. So in the second scenario, 17 games in total have been played, as you see here. So the upper bound is 17 games. No more games are possible. So let's examine the first case, where the total amount of games is 17 games, and work our way down as needed. So since 17 games have been played, that means that James doesn't play in the first and the last game. That means the last game is David versus Andrew. Since the number of consecutive wins of Andrew is an odd number, then that means Andrew starts his streak against the same player versus David. So the 11th game is David versus Andrew again. So in these last 7 games, David has 4 games, Andrew has 7 games, and James has 3 games so far. So now we have 10 games left in total, the first 10 games. James needs to play in 5 more games. Andrew needs to play in 5 more games as well, and David in 10 more games, which is a total amount of games left. So that means David makes 10 straight wins in the first 10 games. And since we assumed outright that James doesn't play in the first game, that means the first game is David versus Andrew. The second game is then David versus James. The third game is David versus Andrew. And the fourth is David versus James, in which David wins this game, since he's made 10 straight wins in the first 10 games. So indeed, Andrew plays 5 games in these first 10 games, and so does James. And so all the initial conditions are met. So indeed, the fourth game is David versus James, and David wins this game. And that's your answer. David versus James. David wins. So yeah, that was a pretty interesting logic puzzle, if you ask me. I considered beefing this problem up a little bit, but I ultimately decided against it. This problem is meaty enough as it is. I know lots of you will have trouble with this, so there's no need to beef it up. Besides, excruciatingly difficult puzzles are on the way anyway. They're in the pipeline, waiting to be unleashed, waiting to see the light of day, my friends, including homegrown ones. Oh yes, that was a big motivation behind making this channel, my friends. The challenge of creating my own puzzles. There's nothing more joyful than seeing one of your own problems out there flourishing in the community, my friends. So smash those buttons like there's no tomorrow, like your life depends on it. Many more goodies on the way, guys. And you know in what fields. I've said it over and over again in previous videos. Algebra, geometry, probability, and all that jazz. Let me know if you found this difficult in the comments section. Your feedback is valuable, so I can balance out the difficulty of the problems on this channel. If you have any puzzle suggestions, then send them my way, and I'll put them in the pipeline. Take care, you guys. God bless. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.